Hey, peace, love, and light. How's everybody doing on this awesome Monday evening? My name is Pastor Lawrence Souffrant. Excited about the change you are about to experience. It is the Monday after the launching of Black Panther. And we have been trying our best to not give you guys any spoilers. And even today, we're going to do our best to not give you... No, I'm lying. We're about to spoil some stuff today. Me and my boy Rob Bailey, we're going to talk about Pan-Africanism, and I'm real excited. I hope y'all remember Rob before. Rob was the one who broke down a little bit about African religion, in the past, African spiritualism, I should say. And we're going to talk a little bit about Pan-Africanism, and my boy, he's a scholar, so I will, by all means, be sure to let him hop on and let them know what's up, and let you guys know what's up. Yeah, we giving some spoilers today. That's for sure. We have to go into it, because for those of you who've seen Black Panther, it is a phenomenal movie, especially when we're dealing with the culture, with the struggle that we deal with, and really even with the solution, with the possibilities. It's just there's so much symbolism in that movie. And I don't know if Marvel did their research, or if this was just a ordained movie. I'm not really sure what it is. You know what I'm saying? But he did good. Real quick, just let me tell y'all about the Friday Experience that happens every Friday on Facebook. Please like the Friday Experience page. If you're looking for some spiritual uplifting, you can, for lack of a better term, you can call it online church. Don't really know what else to call it, but it is a way to gather with other believers. And it's non-denominational. There's no denominational loyalty. Our loyalty is only to the truth, and that is what we discuss. We discuss the truth. It's an open forum where you're free to express your ideas, and it's not designed to force you to believe anything. It's really just to share some ideas that come from the scripture and even come from experience that the Spirit leads, to help with your upliftment. So, feel free to check out the Friday Experience, and we're also doing a lot of stuff to help our community, to help the homeless. We're sending Bibles to Zimbabwe. So all that. If you want more information, just hit me up, because I want to use most of our time dealing with Pan-Africanism and Black Panther. So Dr. Bailey, whenever you want to hop on, by all means, let me see if I can just add you real quick. Add you so that you can hop on, my brother. And we can get this thing rolling, because I think it's time for us to have this conversation. Rob Bailey, he's a brilliant man. He is a scholar in his own right, and he's a genuine spirit. He came down to Huntsville, Alabama this weekend, and he did a phenomenal job talking to the high school, to one of the high schools in the area, and just breaking gems down, really trying to show them how you are a slave, what it means to be a slave, and how, to some degree, some of us are still slaves. Did a fantastic job, man. He gave them the truth, and like the Lord Jesus Christ says, the truth shall set you free. So he didn't hold nothing back. So right now I'm just waiting on my boy Rob, dealing with Pan-Africanism and Black Panther. You know what? If you've seen Black Panther, you know the emoji that you should be putting up right now. If you've seen Black Panther, let me know that you are from Wakanda, or you bang with Wakanda. What's the official greeting? All y'all who've seen Black Panther, you already know what it is. I should be seeing it just all through the timeline right now. If you already know, you should know what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? So let me see that greeting go through the timeline in the comment section. Just throw it up one time if you down for the movement. You already know. I know I went decked out. I wore my skin straight from Ghana. Hey, there he is, the
What
man.
up?
Oh, what up, dude?
I'm chilling, man. What's the word?
Man, you already know. You already know what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited to have this conversation finally.
Yeah, me too, my brother. Let's get it.
Yeah. We
Wakanda
about
forever
to...
and all that.
Yeah, Wakanda forever, man. Peace, man. You already know, my brother. Straight up.
Yeah, indeed. So, man, talk to me, man.
So,
Let's get started. Let's jump into it.
yeah, man. Well, let's start first and foremost. Most people know who you are, but for those who don't know who you are, real quick, if you could introduce yourself, let the public know what's up.
Okay. Yeah, man. My name is Robert Allen Bailey, but you call me Rob. I hail from Buffalo, New York, Syracuse, New York, the whole Western New York, man. Graduate of Oakwood University, degree in theology. Currently at the tail end of my master's at Andrews University, pursuing a master's in social work and a master's in community international development. I do some motivational speaking, trying to build something with that, and I lecture on Black history, African history, and the intersections between Black people and religion. And so those are my topics. Where I have some handle, you know what I mean? Man, that's what I do. That's who I am.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Pan-Africanism. And real quick, if you were to define it, and this is going to be a discussion. We're going to go back and forth. I don't think I'm going to really state my opinion until we start talking about the movie a little bit. But now, just to help people kind of understand a little bit so that we can all be on the same page, how would you define Pan-Africanism?
Yeah. Pan-Africanism, in the most simple, basic form, Pan-Africanism is the idea or the practice of unifying all people of African descent on the planet under one political and economic banner. That's essentially Pan-Africanism. All right?
Got it.
It's a basic form. I don't know if you want me to go deeper than that.
Well, that is. Go ahead.
Okay, so if we're talking about its origins now, right? It's an idea that goes back. Maybe one of the earliest, clearest examples. Although it's kind of like an African ethic, like all people being family. Okay, let me not go there. All right, so as an ideal, kind of one of the first places we see it clearly in history is like Queen Nzinga, you know what I mean? Back in the 1500s, where she distinctly views all people of the continent as her people, Then you could go on up to Jean-Jacques Dessalines or Toussaint Louverture, I believe that was the 1700s. You have it. Well, it's very clear there in the Haitian Revolution. It's very clear in the original. What do you call it? The Constitution, their Constitution. It's very clear. Any Black person that gets to Haiti is free. You know what I'm saying? That's Pan-Africanism. They went throughout a lot of the South and Central America trying to free folks. That's Pan-Africanism. You see it even more clearly when you get on down to Martin Delany in the 1800s. He's the quote unquote the father of Black nationalism. But it's true inception, Pan-Africanism, as a literary force, where people are expounding on it. It comes out of Trinidad, you know what I mean? With I don't know if you're familiar, but C.L.R. James, George Padmore, I think his name, the other cat's name is something Williams, Cedric Williams or something like that. He was the president of Trinidad back in the day. And so it was those three cats who were the forefathers of Pan-Africanism proper. But then you have it going down into Marcus Garvey, obviously, who then, really swings the hammer and gets some traction with it. The three from Trinidad didn't really get no traction in the Caribbean with Pan-Africanism. Obviously, Marcus Garvey didn't get any traction in Jamaica. He had to come to the U.S. to really find traction with Pan-Africanism. And from there, it takes off. Elijah Muhammad, you could just go in from there. You know what I mean? So, that's
now, I guess a good question would be, do you see a difference between Pan-Africanism and Black nationalism? Because, for example, you mentioned Elijah Muhammad, who I would see more as a Black nationalist, but not necessarily a Pan-African. Well, I guess I see a very thin line between the two, but how would you view it?
To me, they're the same. To me, they're the same, because to get Black nationalism, you got to have Pan-Africanism. You know what I mean? But Elijah Muhammad isn't a pure Black nationalist, because he mixed it. Once you begin to mingle it with religion, you start getting into trouble, because then you begin excluding people based upon religious grounds. And so it's not open to all Black people. So Elijah Muhammad, it's cool if you want to be a Muslim, but if you don't want to be a Muslim, then it ain't really. Like the Hebrew Israelites, man, they have an awesome system in terms of being implanted in Israel, in West Africa, South Africa, they have enclaves all over the world.
Right.
But if you ain't Hebrew Israelite and you ain't willing to submit your brain to the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, boy, you can't have no part of that. So, you know, it ain't true black nationalism. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess I would argue it's a form of black nationalism, but it's not. I would say it's not as inclusive as Pan-Africanism. Because with Pan-Africanism, as long as you are black, regardless of your creed or religion or whatever the case is, we can consider ourselves one nation. And I guess to kind of help the people out, because I know one of the fears that some people have with Pan-Africanism, most people don't even know what Pan-Africanism is, right? Just keep it 100. But the few who kind of dive into it, one of their fears is they have to deny who they are to be under this one umbrella versus this one umbrella being inclusive. So you could still be, Ashanti, or you could still be Yoruba, or you could still be, whatever, Jamaican or Haitian, and still be a Pan-African, because though you are of the country of Haiti, or because you're from the tribe of Yoruba, does not separate the idea that everyone is your people. You know what I mean? Every black person, at least, is a part of your people.
Indeed. Agreed.
So
agreed, man.
All right. So with that being said, I know we had some other questions, but I kind of want to dive into a little bit of the Black Panther conversation. And real quick, for those of you who are viewing, I appreciate you guys viewing and sharing. By all means, put your comments down and even ask your questions in the comment section, and we'll try to deal with it if we have time to deal with it. But now, dealing with the movie, one of the reasons why I support Black nationalism, if you will, is because it is at least a belief of mine that it's very difficult to be free without any identity. To some degree, you need to know who you are, and if you don't know who you are, you need to find who you are or create who you are to some degree in order to experience a full freedom. Because without knowing who you are, without having I believe identity is a foundation for all forms of freedom. It really determines what you do and how you do it. You know what I'm saying? At least that's my belief. I think one of the things that Black Panther has done is it has given people who had no identity or who felt like they had no identity some level of identity. It's almost like Black Panther did what the Moorish Science Temple was trying to do for everybody here in North America. What are your thoughts on that?
On identity, man. I mean, yes, like absolutely. I think with Black Panther, man, I think what it did in a way that we've probably only seen with like hip hop is that it made Africanness hella dope, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was really that, like, we had never seen it in 3D like that before, and so I think we all have, I don't want to like, downplay our people. I think we all have some conception of identity, but to see it in a package like that, man, where so many different cultures was on display, and man, Black people are all about the cool, you know what I mean? Especially African Americans. Like, it's all about the cool, bro. And so to see it in a manner that was so fly, I think that in a way that only hip hop has really shown us before, I think was kind of like the highlight, man. What made people buy in that way. I don't know if I'm answering your question or not.
No. You are absolutely. Because I'm saying that really to get into the segue of the movie, because I mean, obviously, those of you who didn't see the movie, I'm not going to go through the plot, but those of you who have seen the movie, I'm real curious to see your take on the contrast between Eric and Killmonger. You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel? Because when I look at Killmonger or Eric Killmonger rather, I don't see a villain. You know what I mean? I see someone who recognizes a problem, went through an experience where it wasn't plentiful. You know what I mean? Like if you look at Wakanda, they had it. They were doing their thing with the metals and with the science. Where Killmonger was raised, in Oakland, California, he didn't have that type of surplus. You know what I'm saying? So his solution of pretty much, let's start the revolution, let's overthrow everybody. I don't see that as a villain type of take. I see it as a very logical and very righteous conclusion based on what he's experienced, in this experience, versus those who come from a surplus may not understand the need to overthrow. What's your take on that?
Yeah, man. Well, I think, and if we could just dig deeper into the definition of Pan-Africanism real quick, like just a little more detail for people who may not be familiar with the concept. Like Pan-Africanism, in a practical sense, is not just the unification politically and economically. Well, it is that of all African descended people on the planet. But man, I mean, it comes down to literally like almost being a religion where every aspect of your life is dominated by that. You know, you only spend money with Black people. You only educate with Black people and things like that, man. So when you have like Wakanda, this place that is that, man, it's like Wakanda is what, you know, to some degree, what Africa could have been had it not been tampered with. You know what I mean? Had it not been the source of like the complete focus of the entire European world, you know what I mean, and their advanced warfare, you know what I'm saying. And so with T'Challa versus with Killmonger versus T'Challa, man, is interesting because it's not a perfect comparison, you know.
Right.
Man, because okay, put it like this, right? You have in Africa, they have a connection to Wakanda in the sense that they have the vibranium, they have the coltan and things of that nature, the diamonds, they have the precious metal, right? You know, they have the land, right? You know what I mean? They have that beautiful landscape. They got the animals. They got the culture. You know, the pure culture, like you know, to some degree or another. You know, but the power that's represented in Wakanda, let's say the political might or something like that, or even the military might be better characterized with Black Americans, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like over here, Americans and Africans in America have the economic might. You know what I'm saying? We are the most wealthy group of Black people on the planet. And so in the same way that T'Challa needed Killmonger, man, if we're ever to build anything like Wakanda, we absolutely need each other, man, because we over here, the not to say there isn't education happening on the continent, man, but you know, there's a level of technical knowledge needed for nation building that's here in America that isn't quite present in Africa. It's not completely you know, absent there, but I mean, it could be demonstrated in the need of Africa to recruit the Chinese and the Japanese to build roads and bridges, and you know what I'm saying? Like there's a shortage of technical knowledge. There's not a shortage of intellect, you know what I mean, by any means, but there is a shortage of technical knowledge of nation building, or else there would be no need to sell off, or at least leadership. You know what I mean? And so I think and then if we get taken down to a personal level, man, obviously the conversation on my page was kind of lit today about kind of the beef between dispersed Africans and Africans on the continent, man. And so I think, like you said, Killmonger, man, I see in him, obviously his methods were a bit harsh, but man, I think the unspoken anger that a lot of Black people have towards Africans on the continent is displayed well in his character, man. You know what I mean? Like if you talk to some Black people, even very well educated Black people, man, I mean, knowledgeable about their history, bro, I ain't leave nothing in Africa. That's what they'll say, man. Like, I ain't leave nothing in Africa. They didn't want us, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's the feeling, and there's a genuine disdain, you know, and obviously there's you know, offense on each side growing up, you know, African Americans insult Africans and Africans insult African Americans. But man, each side is kind of blinded by their own feelings about the situation, man. And I see T'Challa as like the culmination of understanding, you know what I mean? Where like, you know, he understands the wrong of his forefather, and he's able to see the point of Killmonger, man, and develop and grow, but also to denounce Killmonger's anger at the same time as destructive. You know what I mean? And so, man, I think it was a beautiful thing. T'Challa culminating at the end of what I believe is the height of Black people. He buys the buildings, and he begins to work in healing, man. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, man, that was kind of my thoughts. I'm all over the place with it. Yeah.
No, but that, I mean, the way T'Challa was buying the block You know,
Yeah.
I think it's something that is definitely needed here in the U.S. And I believe the fact that he has the resources, because as someone who went to two separate areas of Africa, there is a certain level of wealth in Africa that's just not discussed. I mean, they have US
Mhm.
dollars, they have diamonds, they have gold, and they're more wealthy than what's I guess publicized, almost kept secret, just like how Wakanda's wealth was kept secret. There are those in Africa who could afford to buy a block. They could afford it,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't even like hurt them for real. You know what I'm saying? But
Facts.
they
Facts.
wouldn't do it.
No,
You know what I'm
there's
saying?
absolutely money in it. Yeah,
They,
absolutely. Yeah. Facts.
yeah, you know what I'm
No, you got it.
saying?
Go ahead.
So I feel like if to some
Mm-hmm.
degree, and then Gary, I'm gonna get to your question a little bit, but I feel like to some degree, if we did unify communication, if there was a way where we can, I mean, we don't have any real ambassadors because if you go, let's say you go to Ghana, I mean, I use Ghana as an example, and if you're dealing with any particular group of people, even with the tribe, Ashanti tribe, let's say, they still have a king. You know what I mean? They still have someone of authority that represents them to a degree. It doesn't function like how it used to function, but it's still an honor to go to the
Yeah.
presence of the king. They still have chiefs. They still have head of the house. So, if you're going to deal with a family,
Facts.
there's
Yeah.
still that one person that you have to go, that would
Mm-hmm.
give the okay for the family to participate. Well, if they was to come here to the
Yeah.
U.S. and they want to do something in New York, it's like it's not clear who the person is. You know what I mean? If they want to go to Chicago, it's not clear
Yeah.
who they should talk to get the okay to move forward in a project like that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like to some degree we
Yeah.
have to organize
Well,
ourselves. And I mean, people are scared of the word organization for whatever reason, but we have to create something where when we do create these
yeah.
dialogues with those from the continent, they can know clear communications, who to talk to, and how to get things rolling. I think,
Yeah.
at least.
Well, well, I think we had that, bro. You know what I mean? Like, yo, when Castro came to America, he sat down with Malcolm. You know what I mean? Like we when Lumumba came to America, he sat down with different black. Like we had those people, man. But the reality is, America knocked them off,
Mm-hmm.
bro. You know what I mean? Like, yo, like I
Right.
mean, you know this, bro.
Right.
You know, COINTELPRO was,
Yeah.
intentional about not
Yeah.
allowing a black messiah to arise, aka any type of black leader to arise, man. They were knocking them off. And so,
Right.
I think that's why there's not that structure, man. But I would venture to say, because I've been to the continent a few times, man, that there isn't the conversation around Pan-Africanism is not historically one that's based on the continent, bro. And
Right.
it's not something that's, when I was going to Kenya, the guy who we were going with, a guy around my same age, he kind of almost had an embarrassment about Black Americans and kind of
Mm.
our excitement with going to them, like kind of warning us, like, hey, you might not want to bring up that conversation. People over there don't really think about those things. You know what I mean? And while that was true to some degree for some
Mm.
people, for a lot of people I met in Kenya, that they weren't really on that time. When I went to South Africa, it was a little different. You know what I mean? And maybe because of
Yep.
their proximity to oppression. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
And so I don't know, bro. I think when you're talking about the continent, it's so big, and
Yeah.
they over there, some people are just educated based upon the TV, just like any people anywhere. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's so simple. I think if we're talking about communication and bridging that gap, man, that is something that has to be developed. But I think it'll have to begin with the youth, man. It has to begin with and we're getting
Yeah.
into the realities of how Pan-Africanism could ever work, right? Because it looks like a long shot from right now, but I think for that communication to happen between the motherland and its dispersed people, like it has to begin with
Yeah.
education, bro. Like if we don't, if our
Without question.
African-run universities with African presidents and African professors aren't teaching a Pan-African and liberation-centered like teaching curriculum, it's not going to work. If our HBCUs aren't teaching liberation center curriculum and we're not teaching, name an HBCU, bro, that's teaching a black language, African language, man. Like where can I go to learn Kiswahili or you know, the tree language out of God. You know what I mean? Like, where can I go to get this, bro? And so, and going on down to our high schools and elementary, if we're still allowing our oppressor to teach us, man, you know what I mean? And the African is still using the British education system, and the Caribbean is still using the British education system. We're never gonna be free, because as I've been saying, there's no continuity of the struggle. I didn't get knowledge of the struggle for real until my mid-20s, bro. You know what I mean? Like, in each generation, it's truth. Like, they have to wait until their 20s to get it, or maybe their late teens, or you know what I mean? Where are the large swaths of black people born into liberation curriculum? You feel me? And until that happens, man, Wakanda's just a dream, bro. You know what I mean? It's gonna stay on that big screen.
Yo, I can hear you. All right, so let's deal with the question between a comparison between Killmonger as Malcolm X and T'Challa as Martin Luther King. What are your thoughts on that? And then I'll share my views on that.
I think Killmonger being compared to Malcolm X is nice on the surface, right? Because he's aggressive and he's like, you know, violent, like Malcolm X. Like, yo, we discredit Malcolm X, I think, when we do that. Malcolm X was one of our greatest intellectuals, bro. You know what I mean? Like, one of our great. He just so happened to descend from the warrior gangster class. You feel me? And so there was a level of there was no, I'm saying, he was a gangster prior to becoming, you know, the warrior priest that he was. And so when he said by any means necessary, that wasn't a sly way of saying like we want to be violent. He literally meant that. Like, if it comes to violence, then we have to be violent. If there's a political means, then there's a political means. If there's education, then there's education. You know what I mean? If the economics is like, he literally meant that. And so I think we take away from him when we paint him as like the angry black man. You feel me? Like Malcolm X had a right to be angry. And I know, Gary, that wasn't your intent. Like, bro, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm speaking to like the larger conversation around Malcolm X. I remember I had to correct one of my professors one time, you know, saying that like you know, Malcolm X wanted to start a civil war. Like, yo, we do Malcolm a disservice sometimes. But on the surface, yes, Malcolm was more aggressive than Martin. But man, so I guess it's an all right comparison, I guess, bro. But I mean, the conversation about Martin and Malcolm is so much more complex than we usually give it credit for. You know what I mean? You know, but hey, man, what can you do? I don't know.
I agree with you in that. I don't really see, like, I respect Martin Luther King. You know what I mean? Rest in peace. I respect him, but I don't believe that he had the will, you know, the will to kill if it came necessary. You know what I mean? Like T'Challa didn't want to kill, but he would have if he had to take the life. You know what I mean? As he proved at the end of the movie. But Malcolm, Martin, I don't think, you know, Dr. King, I don't think he would have ever took it there. You know what I mean? I think he would have kept that whole vision and that whole promotion of nonviolence. Because for me at least, because Malcolm was also about peace. It wasn't so much that Martin Luther King was more about peace than Malcolm. Malcolm was just willing to get peace by any means, like you said. When Martin Luther King was only about getting peace with nonviolence. And you can, I see there an issue in limiting your ability to get peace, because if your oppressor knows that you only have one spade, then they'll use that against you. You know what I'm saying? Without question. When you're willing to die and willing to kill for what you believe, I think it shows a whole different strategy to the warfare. You know, and this is not to disrespect Malcolm in any shape, form, or fashion. But I agree with you in that it's not clean cut. If we're talking one being more aggressive than the other, then yes. I think I'm not, because even Killmonger, comparing to Malcolm X, might be a little unfair, because Killmonger was literally willing to throw weapons out in the street and tell them, yo, save yourself, when Malcolm was really more about a level of organization. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to do this strategically. and not just overthrow random governments. You know, we'll pick a center, we'll pick a headquarters, and we'll make this home, and we'll take over here, and we'll build here. And T'Challa did that in the end. He chose Oakland. He said, this is going to be the spot. It's going to be the first one. So I don't think, I think really, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's really that clear of a comparison.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, man. Yeah, I don't think it's a clear comparison. I don't think it's, man, one thing I would like to, man, no, I'm gonna let you guide. You go ahead, man. What's next on your agenda, bro?
Nah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. We just talking, man.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. What do you think about, what do you think about the cultural references in Black Panther? And I'll be more specific, right? Okay, so when you have there's a lot of initiatory rites represented in the movie, bro, and I thought that was pretty profound. Like, you know, like when they bury Killmonger and T'Challa in the sand, like that's real stuff, man. I can't name the specific culture, but I do know in certain spiritual traditions from the continent, they bury you underneath the dirt for you know, for overnight, I believe, you know, and man, there was another one that I can't recall right now. But, oh yeah, in the aspect of going to
even the heart-shaped flower,
genuine aspect of the initiation. But my point being, man, my phone breaking up on you, G.
Rob, you breaking up.
Run it by me again?
Yeah. I'm about to say you breaking up. I didn't hear what you. Yeah, you were breaking up. The last thing I heard you talk about was how being buried under the ground was official and all that good stuff.
Okay, yeah, man. And so, what do you think about our connection to our ancestors, man? But and am I clear right now?
Yeah, you're clear now.
Okay. Our connection to our ancestors, bro, in terms of our cultural systems, man. Like, in my observation, right, Africans, even on the continent, they're obviously fleeing the village, right? I mean, you can't knock the appeal of the city, right? So I'm not knocking them on that, but there is a distance from like the initiatory rights of their people. You know what I mean? To where if you ask, man, I would venture to say, bro, and I'm going on a limb, but if you were to ask a good number of Africans that you know in America, they are not initiated into the cultural customs of their own people. You know what I mean? And then and among the African American, it's completely lost. Even, I mean, the dispersed African in general. You know what I'm saying? And so what role does that play, in your opinion, in the freedom struggle, man, and in the Pan-African struggle?
Well, you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that, because when I watched it the second time, I was talking to Abby about it, and I was explaining kind of how we still see it here in the diaspora. It's not as obvious, I guess, but when you look at how the Greek life operates, the way that the Divine Nine, they have a stroll, they have a call, they have the hazing process, and even within the hazing process, there's things that are done that they're all symbolic. In the gang life, you have your initiation process in the gang life that involves it's like you get beat up, I guess, quote unquote, you get beat up, get jumped in, but the way, the manner, the questions asked before you get jumped in, the amount of time you get jumped in has a symbolic reference to it. The fact you can't drop your flag, et cetera, et cetera. You have blocks that would have certain handshakes and stuff like that. And if you want to be down with them in the block, there's certain things you have to do. So I believe that there's something in us that does actually require an initiation process. And in fact, when people want to claim that they're down with us without having gone through something to prove themselves, we do to some degree take offense to that just as a people. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, they just moved to the block, and it's like, yo, they just got here and they want to claim like they from here and they ain't do nothing yet to really prove that they down with us. So it's like something in us is like, you just moved here, but you're not down until you prove yourself. So I think if we was more systematic with it, if we were, and I mean, and to take it all the way there, Christianity has done a good job in demonizing any type of initiation outside of baptism. So it's very difficult for us to embrace a cultural initiation, you know what I mean, when the church says that that's of the devil, without any clear understanding that even baptism is not originally Christian. You know what I mean? That came from somewhere. And the language that John uses comes from other places. So I think if we were to be like, I know I have a plan to put my son through a rite of passage. I'm working on an affirmation. I'm working on a crescent right now. Whatever. I'm working on getting rings made. You know what I mean, to pass down to my kid, and we have identical rings. And when he had children, they'll have identical rings to let everybody know that we part of family. Long before Black Panther came on the scene, these were things I realized for him to have that sense of identity, that he's a man and that he's accepted and that he lives by a certain value system. And the value system is concrete enough to be solid, but flexible enough to shape the practice as time continues. You know what I'm saying? I think that's very, very important. You know what I mean? And I believe if everybody was more intentional in creating something that says, this is how I know. Like, branding, like the Greeks, how they would brand each other, or gangs get tattoos. All of those things are part of what we got from Africa. You know what I mean? They like to say the branding came from slavery. And yeah, the slave master branded their slaves. This is true. But the African had certain types of scarring, certain type of tattoos as well as proof of where they came from. So it's something, I'm not going to go into I could go into the DNA thing if you want me to, but I believe that there is something in our DNA that says, I have to prove that this is my people. Yeah. You know what I mean? I have to prove that not that I'm just down with them, but that they're down for me. Because at the end of any initiation process, there's always the group now embracing you and showing how much they love you. In every initiation process, there is something that says, we're down with you just like you're down with us. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed. Yeah, man. I'm with you 100% on that. The crescent, the ring and all. Man, I'm of the same mind, bro. In fact, I mean, my current pursuit of African spirituality, man, is let me start with this, bro. For Pan-Africanism to work, there has to at least be one generation that sacrifices itself. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be one that just like, hey, this is what we doing. If we don't make as much money, if we don't there has to be one generation. And man, I think you see yourself as that generation, and I view myself as that generation as well. And so, man, my pursuit of African spirituality, my intense study of African spirituality, African culture, and African history is that sacrifice, bro. Like, I'm filling out the whole thing from the start to the end, so that when my kids come, I can give them something real. You feel me? And we're not talking speculation no more. Like, hey, this is what it is. Now, let me give you this, and if you want to go another way past that, at least you got it. You can go wherever you want, but you got to get it first, you know? And so, man, one of the things that I would like to do, man, I've been considering like a lot of PhD options and blah, 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 blah. And anthropology is one of the things that I found that I love in my graduate studies, man. And one thing that I like to do is explore the initiatory rites throughout the continent, man. And not only that, but see, what is let me talk to these leaders of these tribes. Now that we are the lost tribe, man, what can we do in this unique circumstance to get us back our true initiatory rights? Not just something we make up, but, with initiatory rights, man, come, the griots who have, oral history of the entire, understanding of history from the African perspective, which is obviously much longer, than European history, because they just weren't around. And so, there's a lot of things that we lose, and there's a lot that can't be said that, I got a friend from South Africa who's been initiated. He couldn't even tell me most of the things that they've been through. But these brothers is off in the bush for 6 weeks with nothing but a loincloth and a knife. You dig me? And like, man, there are some jewels that we're leaving behind that I think are valuable to our people. And I want to see in a very real way, like, how can we get those back? I think not only that, man, but when you're talking about, initiation isn't just symbolic, man, but it's about trust. Like, I know that after we've been through this trial together, man, I know I can trust you, like, because you got the scar on your cheek, like, and you don't get the scar on your cheek unless you put that work in. And so it's the same way a company of Green Berets or Marines might view each other. That after we've been through this ordeal, we can view each other, man. And the reality is, man, because a lot of dispersed Africans have not been through that initiatory process, man, they honestly can't be trusted, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's real. That's real.
I mean, we're getting into something right now, but Pan-Africanism, man, our efforts here have been infiltrated by people who look just like us, you know, and I think one of the main issues is that there isn't a testing ground for entrance into the struggle. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like just
right,
anybody
right,
can get into it,
right,
bro. You know what I mean? And
right.
I think I mean you can see what happens when initiatory rights die by looking at gang culture right now. Like gang culture was always kind of you know, falling from where it was when it was created, just like almost any ideology, right? But
Correct.
once you started having quote unquote gangsters who were like affiliated based upon like street block or like,
Yep,
you know what I'm
yep,
saying? Like where you don't have
yep.
this sort of initiatory process, man, the game kind of died. You know, now it's to the point where people
Yeah,
think snitching is any time you tell on somebody doing a crime, when that's not, you know, snitching is when you're involved in the crime and you tell on them. Like people don't even have a
right,
proper
right,
understanding of G
right.
code anymore. G code is
Yeah,
dead. You know what I'm
yeah. There's
saying?
no
And
longer
so
a code of ethics.
yeah,
You
there
know what
is
I
no
mean?
G
There's not,
code in the black struggle
yeah,
anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so it's
But you know
problematic.
what you're talking about though is what Noble Drew Ali tried to do because he was initiated into an Egyptian spiritual system,
Yeah,
and then
indeed.
I mean, because when you're initiated, you're sworn to secrecy as far as particulars, but when it
Yeah,
comes to principles and concepts, you can share those things.
yeah.
So he created, you know what I mean, the Circle Seven Quran, right? You know what I mean? He created that with the allegory and symbolisms of his own to help initiate the masses. But like you said, it's too open. Like anyone can obtain a copy. And you know, now you can't front like you're part of, and even the organization now since he's died, like
Yeah.
anything else, and that kind of leads to the next point of, I guess, practical Pan-Africanism.
Mm.
It's too dependent on one person.
Yeah, yeah.
It becomes very complicated. Like in all of our movements, and I mean, granted, the movements were too young to create, you know, an authentic successor. This is a fact. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So
mm,
I'm
mm.
not saying like they did it in a like they intentionally just fell off. I mean, they was killed off, like you said, or
Yeah,
locked up, but it still remains the same.
yeah,
When the head honcho dies, there is no successor who can take it over.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's with all movements, all black movements, including the gangs. The reason why the gangs are the way they are, I always call myself the last generation of the OGs because I
Mm,
remember having an OG. I remember getting my literature when I was banging. They
mm,
wrote my literature down and they said, you memorize this and then you burn it. You know
mm.
what I'm saying? There was no, you know what I mean? I couldn't pass that down. I couldn't give it. My big homie who was putting me on was writing it out in front of me.
Mm.
You know what I mean? From the head. And I
Yeah,
had to memorize it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then burn that piece of paper. You know, and I would get tested on it. If I didn't know my stuff, you know, we used to get disciplined for that. So those things exist, but how the gang fell was, once again, they killed all the OGs, they locked up all the OGs, and then those people who wanted power would claim a status where there was that void, but they wouldn't
yeah.
have the knowledge to actually
Indeed,
occupy that space. And that's why
indeed.
the gangs are dying. You see what I'm
Indeed.
saying? So
Well,
ultimately, we need to create something where we can have a successor. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, man, I think, and then in a stroke of I don't even know, man, fate or what have you, man. I think we are in one of the best positions to see like the reality of Pan Africanism, man. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And specifically when you're talking about gang culture, man, if we look at LA as an example or California, man, I think it's actually a turn for the better right now in terms of gang culture. If I understand the current climate right now and temperature of gang culture out
Mm-hmm.
there, I mean, I think there's a generation of gangbangers who are genuinely beginning to see like, man, like, yo, we've been a victim of our own selves, man. You know what I mean? Like they've been
Yep.
playing us against ourselves. And while it's not perfect out there by any means, man, I think you definitely have a high our culture. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, a Nipsey Hussle would be a great example. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, man, you know, in my previous presentation, I made the comparison between a animal caught into captivity,
Yeah.
and how it's changed in captivity, and how each generation, you know, if you want to return that animal to the wild, it can't be done in the first generation. Each
Mm-hmm.
generation has to be entered into a greater and greater wild, right? And so a larger
Yeah.
enclosure the first generation, the second generation may have a larger enclosure, and they may throw in wounded animals, so the creature is
Mm-hmm.
learning how to kill. And then they take that animal's children and they put it into an even larger enclosure. Now they have straight up live animals that they chase down. And there's an increasing wild until you have something like that original animal where it can survive on its own in the wild, right? And I think in the same way, man, we are so many generations now removed from slavery that we have a large, millions upon millions of successful, well-to-do Black people who are at least somewhat conscious, man. I think we are in the greatest generation. Not only that, but we have the internet. And so, man, can we dive right into the discussion of practical Pan-Africanism? Like how?
Yo, let's do it.
All right, man. How can Pan-Africanism actually come true? How can we create a Wakanda? Right. That's what this whole thing is about. If you ain't having that conversation right now, you ain't having no conversation. And so, how can we create a Wakanda? Okay. First thing, man, is that we are in the greatest generation for it. And to me, right now, we have, via our cleansing, via the Black cleansing of Christianity, turning it into a worthwhile religion that Jesus intended it to be when he created it. We have, man, by chance, this is going to be so, man, I'm like hesitating because this is so rough, bro, but it's so true. We have created a European that is kind, bro. For most of history, fam. Savage, dog. Let's keep it 100, man. Let's keep it 100. My Caucasian brothers, y'all know I love y'all. The ones who I know personally, y'all know I love y'all. But let's tell the truth, man. Y'all was some savages, right? And man, via their, man, and we got to give it up to MLK for this, man. Via our immense suffering, man, we were able to civilize a large swath of white people. And so right now we have an opportunity where we can begin to build something like Pan-Africanism, and it isn't going to be the immediate kind of, response from all white people like it was back in the day, right? There isn't going to be that immediate clap back to it. With that being said, the tribalism that made us weak in Africa initially can make us strong in this new technological age. And here's what I mean.
Without
tribalism
question.
made us weak because there was no collective consciousness. And so, man, Africa was so big that, man, Lawrence, and me and you don't agree. Ain't no point in killing each other. Dog, I'm going to just go 100 miles that way, and I'm going to do my own thing. You feel me? And there's no beef. Like, there's enough land, there's enough food, there's enough resources, everything. And so, but the issue was that when the people came to attack you, there was no collective consciousness, and I didn't see that as my fight because you weren't my people. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it's a little more complex than that. But that's the reality, man, is, there wasn't that collective consciousness. So now when you have the tribal identity mixed with the collective consciousness, mixed with the technological ability to connect worldwide, it could work. And so what I mean is, right, man, in my mind, for Pan-Africanism to work, it works like this. Man, recently I got together a group of young professionals to invest in Kenya with my Kenyan brother Ezra. It didn't work out, but we didn't lose any money. We didn't make any money. We didn't lose any money. We learned a lot. I consider it a win, right? Now we have a group of trusted individuals, right, who we know are willing to put the money up to invest in something. We have a group. If you create a group like that with a group of trusted individuals and y'all put money up, and then, and that happens, it speckles all over the world, and then we connect as it's beneficial for all of us, and we have conferences, and we begin to build, and those groups begin to put their money together, and we begin to educate our kids together, and that's something that can be built without respect to religion. Like, you can stick with your Christian homies if that's what you want to stick with, as long as you don't begin to fracture the collective with that ideology. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
And to me, man, that is the future of Pan-Africanism. And if there's not some type of global technological connection where it's not necessarily in the beginning based upon landmass, right? Because the basis of nationhood is land, right? But we're so spread out, and the world is becoming so globalized due to technology that it's not that simple anymore. I think the first generation of true Pan-Africanists, it'll have to be a technological connection. And then the next generation that is born into Pan-Africanism, it can become a man question. And via that, for me, bro, and I know if you're thinking signet ring and all that, crest and all that kind of stuff, I know you're thinking that with my economic pursuits that I'm trying to build, I'm always thinking internationally, and that was my reason for even investing in Kenya in the first place. Was I'm immediately trying to expand myself international because I don't want to be stuck to America, bro. You know what I'm saying? I want this to be the last generation of Baileys and Moody's who are my family that have to be in America because our economy is based here. You feel me? And so my intent, my goal, my hope is to spread this international so that, man, if we want to, just because we want to, we can leave. And, man, God forbid, quote unquote, God forbid, America falls, man. You know, we can get up out of here if need be. You know what I'm saying? And we'll have structure somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Let me add a perspective to that, because when I went to Zimbabwe, first reading up on Zimbabwe, then going to Zimbabwe, of course, it's always two different things, right? Yeah. When I read up on Zimbabwe, and I'm reading how, you know, how for lack of a better term, how the black people pretty much took the government back, I was low-key excited. Then when I read he was in power for 37 years, I was like, well, this is already an issue. You know, I mean, I didn't know, like, the depth of the issue, but I already can tell, like, 37 years, that's a bit of an issue. You know what I mean? Then when I got there and I started interacting with the people there, and when I hear them say it was better when the white people were in control, that, like, hurt my, like, every being because they did what we want to do, but they didn't execute it in the ideal sense. Because ultimately those revolutionaries that took over, they became the white people. Like they focused on themselves instead of the nation. They took over the farms for them because this is real practical, still happening now. They kicked out all the white farmers, but they didn't have no black farmers who knew how to farm. And it was like, how you gonna take over the farms, which sounds good, but you didn't build the knowledge first before you took over the farms. So now all the white farmers, they left the country, and all the countries around Zimbabwe are doing better because they got farming now from people who are experts in it. And it was like, man, it can't just be black people take over. I mean, well, yeah, it has to be that to a degree, but if we don't step up our expertise, because right now, if the U.S. falls today, we in trouble. Because they know experts right now who can like bring us all together and help. I mean, we survivors, so we'll figure it out. By all means, we'll figure it out. But I mean, we do need to spend some time. I think, like, I'm trying to figure out what my children want to be, so I can instill to them that whoever they are is to advance, like, everybody, not just themselves, and that they have to be stewards of who they are for the sake of the continuing of life, because ultimately that's what we're here for. So if they're not going to be excellent in it, not for a paycheck, because I think that's one thing that's holding back our liberation, is we only see how we can make dollar profits versus generational profits. Like, if I don't make another dollar, like you said, we could sacrifice ourselves. If I don't make no money with my expertise, but I'm able to ensure that I pass something down where they can live if I die, they can keep going and they can pass it down. That's worth more. Like, what's the price to that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But don't get it twisted. Man, my intent is to become filthy rich, my brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that is my intent. Like, and I think, man, I think get the money, but, man, ownership. It's get the money, you know, but within a cultural custom. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, like, you know, and so, hey, if you want to be a doctor, that's all fine and well, man. But once you become a doctor and you establish yourself, get with a group of doctors and open up a hospital, man, and get your money. Provide some services to your people and offer the intern. You know what I mean? Like you know, I think that's the thing. You had mentioned another point, Zimbabwe. I think the other aspect of what you were saying in Zimbabwe with the technicians not having the technical ability, I think more so than, because if you have, it ain't like the white farmers was out there doing the work. Like, the black farmers was out there doing the work. You know, the black field hand, right? And so I think they had the ability. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't have access to the market. You know what I'm saying? The European was able
to a degree. Because when they came in and they took over, what really happened was they didn't give it to the workers. They gave it to the military. See what I'm saying?
Okay, got you.
And in the military, they weren't farmers. You see what I mean? But they were black, and they went to war. So it was like, you know, the president couldn't pay them for what they did. So the president said, take the land as payment. And it just crumbled. You know what I mean? There was no strategy whatsoever. And that's really my point. My point was they successfully overtook their government, which is so like dope. You know what I'm saying? Like they went to war and they won. They took over.
Yeah.
And then it was like now they try to figure out what to do next. And in the process of figuring out, the country is crumbling. You know what I'm saying? It has crumbled. Even when you talk about making money, there's a cash crisis in Zimbabwe right now, where the banks would collect all the money, and then one day they took all the U.S. cash. Next day, no currency. They gave them some bonds. You know what I mean? And it's like hard-earned money for decades gone. You know what I'm saying? And so I guess after hearing that, I realized we have to focus more on resources than money. Because if money falls, I still need to be able to live. I still need to get fresh water. I need resources. So I'm shifting my consciousness. Not that money. I'm all about getting money too. Trust me. But my consciousness has shifted to if I'm vested in money and not vested in resources, I'm really vesting in, because our dollar ain't worth squat. Our dollar has failed already. Just the effects of our failure hasn't caught up yet. You know what I'm saying? So we spend too much time getting these dollars. You know, that day where we finally reach whatever mark we think is the mark could be the very day that dollar, the effects of the failure finally hits, and we have no other currency. Well, people don't even know you can trade currency. Like, this is like economical. It's basics now for me because I've been involved for so long, but it's like mind blowing to other people who have no exposure to it. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely, and that's I mean we're on one accord, bro. Like that's absolutely including what I mean by filthy rich. I don't just mean having a bunch of money in some bank, bro. You know what I mean? Like, nah, that's absolutely real estate. That's land. That's businesses. That, you know what I mean? That's the whole nine. You know, precious metals, the currencies, all that.
Right.
But anyways, man. But to further on with the Zimbabwe question and just Africa in general, man. I think one of the, like you said, man, they call it capacity building, man. Right? Capacity building, the capacity to have structure that sustains your government, right? Levels to it, mode of operation, code of conduct, like a template. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what the newly free Black countries are missing. Like, I was in Bahamas, bro, and I'm like, yo, I'm in the Bahamas. I want some fruit, fam. Like, I want some coconuts. I want some mangoes. I went to go buy a mango from the Rasta. And that joint said Dole, bro. It was a Dole mango, like the fruit company. And I was like, yo, what is this, bro? Like, what is y'all got this GMO mango up here? Like, what is this? And he was like, yo, like, we don't grow our own food for the most part right now. You know, I'm looking at all the land, fam. And I'm like, what you mean? And he's like, yo, like, we've only been free for 30 years. And man, like, I think at some point, if we're serious about Pan-Africanism, bro, Africa has to deal with the fact that it doesn't need the rest of the world, right?
Come on, that's right.
Macroeconomics. We're talking macroeconomics right now, man. We don't need the rest of. Yo, Africa is completely self-sustaining in terms of water, in terms of farmland, in terms of mineral resources. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that it currently lacks, man, is military might and capacity, bro. In terms of structure. You know what I'm saying? And I think if we could get around to having some leaders who are willing to invest in that reality, man, I mean, it's an easy play from there, bro. You know what I mean? But as it stands right now, we're dependent in that regard, and until we get that right, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be a reality. Luckily, we have a generation of African youth, man, including dispersed Africans who are willing to go to the continent, man, and share skills, and dispersed Africans who were born on the continent, who have gone abroad to get information and are willing to come back to the continent, man. And I think if we can, here's the beautiful thing about Black Panther, my brother. If you ask most Black people, would they want to live in a Wakanda? They'd be like, yeah. And I think the majority of Black people have been afraid to desire a reality without white people.
Yo, I'll take it a step further, because
let me qualify this a little bit.
Go ahead.
And I'm for that, but I am also willing to include allies, true allies.
Correct.
Like we saw in the movie a true ally. Like, he was willing to put his. if you ain't a John Brown, if you don't know who John Brown is, Google him. Like he led a revolt trying to free black people with guns. Like he put his body on the line. If you're not that kind of white person, you ain't really my kind of white person, bro. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. You know
No,
what I'm
that's
saying?
100.
So allies,
I'm with you.
I'm all for allies. We're gonna need allies. You dig me?
I'm with you.
But I think,
no, I got no issues with with no white folks. I'm cool with that, 100%. I mean, except for my boy Rich, he got to be down. Shout out to my boy
because
Rich.
he's an ally. Like, Rich is an ally. Man. He got the queen. He got the beautiful black queen. And man, I'm with it, bro.
He down.
On,
but what I was gonna say was, you ask them if they want to live in Wakanda. They say yeah. You ask them if they want to build Wakanda. The hesitation comes, and that I don't know. I don't know if it'll be this generation or if it has to be our children that's willing to say, I'll build it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it takes, I'll play my part to build it. Because that's what we need. Right now it doesn't exist, but it's not impossible. The fact that we can imagine it means that it's possible. So it's just about actually doing it. It's not even, honestly, I believe it could. First off, we did it before. We talked about Tulsa, Oklahoma. We talked about what happened in Harlem. You know what I mean? We talked about what Chicago was before white people got to it. No offense to white people watching. We've done it several times. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's like our generation hasn't done it. So for us, we've been brainwashed. Let me get a job. You know what I'm saying? Versus let me build something. And I don't know I don't know if our generation is too far. I'm not sure. But we need a group that's willing to build instead of just reside and consume. You know what I mean? We need producers.
Yeah, indeed. And man, I think to that end, we already touched on education, how, you know, at some point we have to take control of the education of our children, man. You know what I mean? Like either we need to find a way to finance a bunch of black teachers and make it a lucrative profession. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, or we need to see the death of the public school system. You know what I mean? And just suffer the casualties, man, that come with that, and lean on these sort of independent schools and black people having to pay to put their kids through school, man. You know what I mean? And calling upon our wealthier community members to finance the education of those who can't afford it. We're just spinning our wheels right now as it stands. This generation that's coming behind us, that's currently in school, is gonna be having this conversation 20 years from now if something don't change. You know what I'm saying? Right. And beyond that, man, I think the black church, right? The black church played a huge role during the civil rights movement as sort of the community center, right? It was the town center for the freedom struggle. It's where we went for a safe place to organize. And the black church has lost that. And here's my frustration with the black church, man. We are caught up in this sort of Christianity that's all about heal the world before healing ourselves. And it's all about waiting on Jesus to come back. Jesus might be delayed 2,000 years, bro. And y'all just sitting here singing in church here's my thing, man. Like, Black History Month, church is beautiful, fam. Bro, I remember, man, I hadn't gone to church in like a year and a half because I was just frustrated and trying to figure out my spiritual beliefs. Man, Black History Month came around. Chaplain Polite was killing them up at Andrews, dog. I'm in there like, yo, I love it. It's so black. It's so revolutionary. We're getting somewhere. People are, man, you know. But, man, come March 1st, brother, that dried right up. And I was like, oh, back to business as usual, huh? And I went right back to my bedroom, to my books on Saturday morning. You know what I'm saying? My issue is that Christianity has to remain a revolutionary force 365 days a year. It can't take a break for 11 months and expect to be relevant to the next generation. And if that's the intent of the current generation of black Christians, man, I'm for throwing it, as John Henrik Clarke says, into the ash can of history, dog. Like, and building a completely new Christian system. Like, I don't attend churches that ain't revolutionary 360. I don't want nothing to do with it, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm not here for it. I'm not here for the brainwashing. I'm not here for the lack of mission. You know what I'm saying? You know, and so I think there has to be a clarification in that regard in the theology and what we're teaching and preaching to our congregation and what they caught off on, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's enough of the Daniel and Revelation seminars. And if you're gonna do one, give them a real like stop with the Europeanized Daniel Revelation seminar.
Yeah.
And I'm starting on
Yeah.
a rant, and I'm a close it right there, man. But I think we need to have, and I think you're an example of, and Jeremiah and Jason, and Quentin and Jeff and a lot of other brothers, man, are examples of a revolutionary tint to our theology that I'm very grateful to see growing within our people, man. And here's my thing. I know a lot of cats, man, are very talented speaking wise, are very charismatic. And I just want to encourage them brothers, man, keep the foot on the gas 365 days a year, man, to this end. Like, you're preaching to black people. And the salvation of black people isn't simply Jesus, man. There has to be physical structures within the black community, and there's a bigger ideal out there. And you have a commitment to your people beyond their particular belief system. And so, man, guys, leverage your power that you're building right now to help black people and to build this ideal, man, and remain revolutionary 365 and keep preaching that message. And I think if we do that, man, we could really start to make some headway. You know what I mean? And the black church may need to step up and be the new educational center of black people. You know what I mean? Like, if we're really talking about the education system, that's the easy place to start. You know what I'm saying? And so,
no, without question. I'm gonna talk to you offline about a project that I'm working on. So I'm definitely gonna hit you up on that when it deals with education, because that's something that I'm definitely focusing on. But everything that you're saying is 100. We got to change our educational system. We got to change our economical system. We have to change even our religious system. Our spiritual understanding has to shift to where we're not so territorial with the truth. You didn't use those words, but it is what it is. We can't be so territorial
spiritual
with the truth.
gangbangers. Like,
you know what I'm saying? So, like, if somebody does something, they try to categorize which denomination that belongs to, and that needs to stop. But which religion that belongs to, you know what I mean? And that needs to stop. And I do believe that we're the generation to do it, because, like you said, you named a few great brothers who are no longer scared to be authentically themselves. And, you know, I guess if we were to bring it to a close, Pan-Africanism is being unapologetically yourself. You know, I am 100% unapologetically African. And I am African through Haiti, through the U.S. I am still West African. And there's nothing like knowing that where I come from, you know what I mean, is the cradle of civilization. Knowing where I come from is the inventors and the creators of the expression of science and the arts. There's nothing more liberating than knowing that the greater I excel in the sciences, the more I am myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm not being like anybody else. I'm being me. The more I excel in the languages, the more I am 100% authentically myself. And my experience doesn't make me any more or any less African. I am who I am. I am what I am. And when you are, I believe, when we can be confident, for everybody who's viewing and watching, when you are confident in who you are, you will give other people the freedom to be confident in who they are. And that's how you find who family is. That's how you find who friends are. That's how you find allies. And that's how you know who your enemies are. I know I'm trying to wrap it up, but I think that's been the number one issue in our advancement, is we don't know who the enemies are. We really, we have an issue in thinking our enemies are truly our friend, because they're seeking their handout. I just did something on the Friday Experience, shameless plug, but I just did a message in the Friday Experience where I was talking about when Joseph's brothers went to help Joseph out the pit to sell him. And I said, everybody who's helping you out the pit is not really your friend. Just because they extended a helping hand, it looked like they're helping you out of a bad situation, but they just taking the opportunity to gain from your downfall. That is the reality of life, that everyone who is helping you is not really helping you. And I think that has been the number one issue with our advancement, is because we are Christian, we assume everyone that has that title Christian is supposed to be, you know what I mean, on our side. But Black Panther really proved with this boycott with white evangelical Christians, it proved. How can you tell people that if you go see Black Panther, you're not Christian? Just the idea of Black excellence and black unity scares white people to such a degree that they will compromise the tenets of their own God to preserve their whiteness. It's a fact. History has proven that. So we have to know who our enemies are, but we won't know who our enemies are until we know who we are. And when we know who we are, we can know who our friends are. And then to know who our friends are, we can know who our enemies are.
Okay. Closing statement. Great, man. I'm here. I like to piggyback on what you're saying, man.
Turkey back. We don't do pork.
Let me point. If this ain't your Jesus, you got a problem on your hands. Okay. When I look at Jesus, bro, I see an individual. He says, "Go first unto the lost sheep of Israel." Right or wrong. That's how we came. And then towards the end of his ministry, he says, "Go into all the world." And so when he first came, man, he had a focus on his people, right? Because in reality, like if you just get free and you haven't created or purified the culture, you're just creating other little oppressors, man. They're just gonna mimic their oppressors, and y'all gonna start oppressing each other. And so I see Jesus as going in amongst his people, trying to restore them, trying to bring them up, And when he had reached the end of what he was supposed to do, and he had built a following, he said, "Okay, now go and spread this doctrine throughout the entire world." You know what I mean? And by this fruit you'll know them. And so my thing is, man, all hands on deck. Like everybody can have a part in this Pan-African movement, man. You don't gotta be spectacular with it. If you a nurse, there's a young nurse that just came into your job, man. Help her out. Give her the game. You know what I mean? Help her get her student loans and whatever you do. Like for me, I'm a motivational speaker. When I'm beginning that journey, when I go around to any campus, man, let's say I go to the University of North Carolina, I want to talk to the Black Caucus while I'm there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I want to go to the juvenile detention center in that city when I'm there. And I want to go to a Black high school when I'm there. And I want to preach, impart motivation, but also this message. When I go to a church, man, it's going to have to be some kind of Black power tint to it. You know what I'm saying? Like just 100%. For our people, because if we don't have that intentionality, man, it's never going to get done. And if we're not intentional with that, and here's the thing, brother. Here's the thing, man. As I wrap this up, bro. Black people, we're doing good right now for a large amount of us, right? And here's the thing. We're going to keep on doing all right for the most part if we accept forever being second-class citizens, right? If you're okay with being second place, hey, man, you're in America. You know what I'm saying? You've hit the jackpot if you're okay with being second place and third place and fourth place. If you're comfortable doing that, man, hey, man, just ride this bad boy out and just get out of the way. You know what I'm saying? But if you desire true, because freedom is self-determination, man, and you don't have true self-determination as a people. Because if you begin to exercise that too strongly, you'll realize that you're in a fight because war is going to break out. There's going to be a battle that's going to break out, like you said. Once you begin to practice self-determination, hey, we don't want to be here anymore. Hey, we don't want to spend our money this way. Hey, we don't want to educate our kids that we don't want to buy these particular foods anymore. Once you start doing that, you're going to have a problem on your hands, and leaders are going to start dropping, and scandals are going to start being up, and they're going to start having smut campaigns to people that are leading this type of ideology. And so, man, all that to say, if you desire to see a return of Black people to true independence, man, to true self-determination, man, and self-preservation, where we don't have to depend on anybody else, then I think we can start going somewhere, and everybody can help in their individual way. What I would like to see right now, man, is 100,000 little conferences happen among 15 and 20 people, 100 people, where they're discussing these things and starting to get serious action steps, man. And where those people are creating ambassadors, and that where those ambassadors begin to meet and we begin to plan on a larger scale, man. That's the future of this fight, man. And I think now's the time to have it. I think now's the time for us to make it happen. We have the money, we have the land, we have the political power, man. We have the businesses, we have the educational centers. All we need is for people to get on board with the theology. And I think Black Panther did a great job of casting a vision, bro. You know what I mean? People downplay it. A lot of the super revolutionaries downplay it. It did a great job of casting a vision, man. You know what I mean? And Wakanda make me laugh when I say it, Wakanda forever. But man, remember that image, man. Like, that's real. We can have that, man. We can have that, where we don't have to be second-class citizens, and we police our own communities, and we provide our own food, and we ain't got to worry about GMO and pesticides, and we ain't got to worry about what's in the vaccines. Although I'm not against vaccines, but man, we're in control. People who love us have fed us. You know what I'm saying? And when that can happen, man, I think life could be all the more beautiful. Blessings to you, my brother. I appreciate
Blessings
you. I
to
feel
you.
like Farrakhan right now. I'm loving it, man. Blessings to you, my brother, and everybody
Thank
watching.
you, brother.
Thank you for watching. And man, go forth and conquer, y'all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'd like to wish you peace and farewell. For all of you who are watching, if you really do want to build Wakanda wherever you are, I really represent that you organize, you get yourself together, you find yourself like-minded individuals. I'm located in Huntsville right now, and I'm willing to organize with anybody else who's really trying to make some serious moves in building Wakanda. There's work to be done here in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm sure that if you are in the Huntsville area, just hit me up. Hit my personal my inbox. You could also hit my email. You can hit my website. There's so many ways I make myself readily available. If you're in the Michigan area currently, you can hit up my boy Rob Bailey.
I'm in Atlanta.
If you're in Atlanta.
I'm in Georgia.
Oh yeah, you in Atlanta. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
You know what, Rob? You're in Atlanta.
So don't nobody really know I'm here, but I'm in Atlanta.
But you know what? You're in Atlanta, so we got to talk. We got to do even more talking. But if you're in the Atlanta area and you're really trying to build Wakanda, hit up my boy Rob, because we're serious about this. It's not just, it's bigger than a movie. You know what I'm saying? And it's definitely bigger than a fad. So if you are really about that life and you want to brainstorm, or if you want to dialogue on how we can take some critical steps forward, the first step that we got to do is come together. That there's no other first step than us coming together. Then when we come together, we can talk about the next step. So please hit us up in our inboxes or wherever you are. If you're in Brooklyn, if you're in Chicago, if you're in wherever, I'm sure there's a group of y'all. Let's just start the dialogue and let's generate a plan so we can create Wakanda for real, because it is Wakanda forever. You know what I'm saying? Straight up.
Word.
Yeah, yo. Yeah. So with that, I leave you with peace. God bless you. And I'll let you later, boss.
Peace. Holla, man. Thanks for having me, bro.
No doubt.
Peace.